and welcome back to Sports the NEMO Way, the New Orleans episode. It's hard to explain. It is the now Pelicans franchise. It is not the Jazz, but it is kind of the Hornets or part of the Hornets and part of and all of the Pelicans. We kind of discussed how it works out in the Charlotte episode, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. But yes, the New Orleans episode is now. So we now, last week Wade was gone, but he is back. But now Drew is gone, and we have no guest. So there's four of us here. Drew said he might be able to make it back before the end of the episode. We'll see. So I think that is all the housekeeping I have at this time. And so I will go to Wade. Wade, who is your all-time New Orleans point guard?
I went with Chris Paul.
As did I.
As did I, and so did Drew.
There we go.
So that is unanimous. Chris, which I think is probably the choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there was another valuable option. I mean, with a franchise like this, you're not going to get a bunch of Hall of Famers or all-time greats. So when there is one, he's obviously going to make the team. So, I mean, we literally just talked about Chris Paul a few weeks ago. He's an all-time great. He's up there in the all-time list in assists and steals, and the first person ever with 20,000 points, 10,000 assists. He got his career started with the Hornets. He kind of made them relevant when they hadn't been relevant in a long time at that point. Him and David West and Tyson Chandler, and then they have Peja.
Yeah,
Peja and like David Wesley maybe, and
yeah,
they had a couple playoff runs in there, and when they hadn't been in the playoffs for a long time, and he was the main reason why they were able to have a nice little run as a franchise there. And he kicked off what would be a first ballot Hall of Fame career there, and I think he have a couple 2010 seasons there. I think he had some nasty numbers there at one point.
In New Orleans, he had 21-11, 22-11. Those are his two biggest seasons in New Orleans.
And those are I think those were his best stat years, weren't they, as far as total or point average and assist
Point average, yes.
Yeah.
Yep. He also won the assist title both those years and the steals title both those years.
I believe he almost won an MVP one of those years. I can't remember which year it is, but he finished second or third in the voting.
Yeah, it's Kobe's MVP year. He comes in second.
Yeah.
Okay. And there's a fair amount of people that think that should have been his.
Well, I mean, when you get 20 points plus you lead the league in assists with over 10, and you make the all-defensive team, I mean, there's a good argument to be made there.
And your team makes the playoffs.
Yeah, and it's a team that it's not like the Lakers or the Celtics or Spurs or someone like it. It's a franchise that hadn't been around a long time, hadn't had a ton of success outside of the morning Larry Johnson years, and he made them relevant. So.
Yep. He's got some All-Star games and some All-NBAs, all defensive teams while in New Orleans. His numbers in New Orleans are 18 points, 4 rebounds, 10 assists, 2.5 steals, 47% from the field, 36 from three, and 85 from the line. So he did it, and he did it pretty efficiently.
And one of his most famous play did happen there, and he dunked on Dwight.
Yeah.
This was young Chris Paul, and he was a lot more athletic than what a lot of people see now. And he went up and he just got the angle on Dwight, and he yacked it on him hard. It was pretty impressive. Dwight was actually just talking about it on a little podcast the other day. He says the most embarrassing moment of his career, getting dunked on by Chris Paul.
Does anybody else have anything to add on CP3 before we move on?
No.
All right. Well, Uncle Doug, who is your shooting guard?
Drew Holiday.
I do not have Drew Holiday.
I don't either, but I kind of like the pick.
I like Holiday. I looked at him.
Yeah. Drew has him too.
Oh,
so.
Okay.
So what do you got to say about old Holiday?
Had almost 17 points, 4 rebounds, 6.5 assists, a little over a steal a game. It didn't hear as much about him as you do, of course, playing with Giannis, but I thought he was just pretty solid. I won't go into who I thought about in case somebody else brings him.
Yeah. Well, I think the big thing with Holiday is he was a defensive monster. And that was kind of his prime years. He was defensively, which doesn't always show up in the box score. He was one of the best perimeter defenders in the entire NBA. That's where he made a lot of his money, was on the defensive end.
Indeed. Yep, he was a defensive. Well, he was the best defensive player. Well, yeah, him and Anthony Davis formed a two-way duo out there, and
They got to the playoffs once or twice, didn't they?
they made the playoffs twice. Yeah,
I
in
think
like
they
5 or
did.
6 years.
I think they even made the second round one year, I think.
Yeah, because they beat Dame
Yeah, yep.
and CJ and those guys. All right, well, that was 2 for Holiday, so that means we got 3 of us that don't have Holiday. So, Ray, who is your shooting guard?
Jamal Mashburn.
He's my small forward.
He's my small forward.
I don't,
Andrew's small forward.
I don't have a Mashy.
I like Jamal Mashburn.
Yeah, I do
Another
too.
guy's career got cut short by an injury.
Yeah, his best 2 years were in New Orleans, and then he really came on when he was in Charlotte, and then the last 2 years was 21, was it 6 rebounds, 5 assists, and he had 7 rebounds in Charlotte the 2 years prior, but that doesn't count. But I mean, he was really solid, and his best 2 years were in New Orleans. So
Yeah, 21, 6, and 5 is pretty nice. Also with a steal. His efficiency wasn't as great, 41% from the field, but he shot 37% from 3, 84% from the free throw line. He was a nice player there for a few years.
yeah. I mean, his whole career is really solid. I mean, he's got 24 point 1 year in Dallas, 23 points 1 year in Dallas.
Yeah.
It's just that middle tier in Miami really kind of fucked him up.
And then it was over. Like his last year in the league, he goes 20 points, 6 rebounds, or 20 points, 5 rebounds, 6 rebounds, and then he hurts his knee and his career's over.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right, well, still only 3 shooting guards, so there's still, I guess Wade and I still don't have ours. Is that correct, Wade?
Oh, wait. Oh, he had Holiday. Never mind.
Yeah, so my shooting guard is Baron Davis.
Oh, yeah, Baron Davis.
Yeah, I considered him for point. I liked old Barron.
Okay.
Baron Davis was the best player in New Orleans for a few years after Chris Paul. Or was it before Chris Paul?
Might have been right before.
Yeah, I think it was right before. I think you're correct.
And then he went to Golden State after, right?
Yeah, he was on the
Okay.
We Believe Warriors.
Yeah.
Love it.
But in New Orleans, he averaged 20 points, 4 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals. Shot 40% from the field, 33 from 3, and 70% from the free throw line. A little bit inefficient, but put up really nice numbers. Always got other people involved. Was always one of the league leaders in steals, kind of like Chris Paul. He led the league in steals multiple times. Made an all-star game or a couple all-star games in New Orleans. So he made an All-NBA. When was that? Yeah, he also made an All-NBA there. So, yep, I thought, is obviously 2 point guards, kind of like Uncle Doug and Drew did, but they don't have a ton of wings to choose from. So I thought Baron Davis would do it.
Huh?
So, Wade, who's your shooting guard? I'm interested now.
I put Brandon Ingram there.
Oh, Brandon Ingram. Okay.
Brandon Ingram is my small forward.
Yeah. I mean, he's been a borderline all-star player for a few years now. He's a really good scorer. He's a solid rebounder. He not a phenomenal facilitator, but he'll get you a handful of assists, and he's very tall and long, so he's a little versatile in defense. I mean, he's not a great defender by any means, but he's not James Harden. So I mean, He's decent in defense, but nothing special. But he's not a complete liability. His size and length helps out a lot. And I just thought he was a little more efficient than some of the other guys. And that's kind of what stuck out to me while getting a lot of buckets, and that's what you want on your shooting guard. So
Well,
that was the direction I went. And with his athleticism and size, you can move him around a couple different positions if you need to. He could guard multiple positions, and I just thought that was a good, decent
he
pick.
was also like the main guy holding it together in that playoff run. What was it, 2 years ago?
This is this year.
Was it this?
Yeah, in the
Yeah.
in the not in the bowl, but in the play-in tournament, he completely balled out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's 23, 5-5 in New Orleans, and 46, 37, and 85.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really look at Brandon Ingram.
I mean, I figured with the players they're going to be looking at, you might as well be able to throw him in the mix. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of these other guys didn't play there forever, and a lot of their production levels are similar.
Mm.
Thought it was a good pick.
All right, well, we finally have all of our shooting guards. And it looks like we're missing a small forward.
Oh, it's me.
Oh, it's you again. Okay. Who
Yeah.
you got?
I got Zion at small forward.
Boy, I didn't see that coming at
No.
all.
I mean, at least in the tournament, he only has to play like maybe 2-3 games. So if he can make it through that, we're golden. I mean, when he plays isn't really a problem. And I saw it was something like he's playing like 118 or 19 out of a possible like 330 games or something. But when he plays, he is a monster offensively. He's one of the most dominant, efficient scorers we have in the entire league. He'll get you 25 to 30 on like 55 to 60% from the field.
This is his games played in 4 years. 24, 61, 0, and 29.
Well, this team's going to be out in the first round, so I don't think it really matters.
But he's 25, 7, and 3 in those 114 games
yeah,
on 60% shooting.
indeed. That's why I put him there. And I think he could play small. I mean, he's a very athletic, and he's not great at defense at power forward either. So I don't think
He's not
that'll
great
hurt.
at defense anywhere.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think his defense at small forward is really a big deal because he can't play it at the other position either. But yeah, one of the most efficient scoring machines we have in the entire NBA. Although this is random, but I will say I don't understand why he doesn't rebound more.
I don't either.
I've always
Yeah.
you're that big and strong and athletic, you should grab more than 6-7 rebounds a game, which I'm pretty sure is what he averages.
Yeah.
And I don't get it. I don't get it at all because he is huge. Like he is strong
Oh, he is.
and he's an athletic freak when he's on the court. You should grab more than 6-7 rebounds, especially in today's NBA where there's not a bunch of 7-footers standing in there. Like it's more spread out and there's not very many centers. Like he should be grabbing 9-10 boards minimum, I feel like.
There's no reason he can't be a double-digit rebounder.
I agree. Yeah. That is one thing that's always bugged me about him, but overall when he plays, he is pretty amazing on offense.
All right, well, that is all of our small forwards now. So now we move into power forward. I don't know who we're on, so I'll just go to Uncle Doug. Uncle Doug, who's your power forward?
David West.
He's also my power forward.
And he's also Drew's.
I put West at center.
I don't have David West. Even though I like David West.
I do too. That's honestly the main reason I put him on is I really like him.
Him and Chris Paul were pick and roll teams to death there for a few years.
Oh, yeah.
They sure did. They actually had a pretty decent squad overall.
His New Orleans numbers are 16 and 7, 2 assists, 49%, and 84% from the free throw line. I was a little surprised at his rebounding numbers at 7.
I thought it'd be better
Yeah.
than that. Was he hurt for a while? Did he miss some time or something? Or
Well, he played with Tyson Chandler, so maybe
Oh.
Tyson Chandler was more of a stay down in the paint, and David West kind of did a little more.
Yeah, he played with Chandler for a few years, then he played with Okafor for a few years.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm guessing they were probably just taking turns going in there and rebounding. But I think a big thing with David West is You're going to get really good, really physical defense. You're going to get really good pick set. He was a monster of a man.
Oh yeah, he was.
Great big. He's going to be kind of an enforcer of your team. You're not going to go through him. You're not going to be able to put your shoulder down and go through him in the lane. He's going to make things tough for everybody in the paint.
And when people think, or at least I think, when people think of David West, they think of old David West. When he was young and playing in New Orleans, he was really athletic.
Yeah.
Like, he would dunk on guys. He would ran the floor with Chris Paul and those guys. Like, he could move. He wasn't just the big lumbering guy he was there with the Warriors there at the end.
Right.
Yeah. And he had some really nice peak seasons.
Yeah, because I was kind of surprised when I saw the numbers, because when I was just thinking about the team, that's one of the names that came to mind right away. And then when I looked up his numbers, I was like, I thought it'd be better than that.
Well, if you get past the first 2 years, I think it gets pretty.
Yeah,
it gets pretty nice.
If you take out his first 2 years in New Orleans, where it was his first 2 years in the league, he didn't play a ton of minutes, but he played games.
Right.
He's 19-8 with 2 assists and a block. So I mean, it goes up a little bit.
Just under 50% efficiency. So.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that'd be the David West you're getting is 20 points, 9-10 rebounds with tough defense and good picks and all that.
He made 2 All-Star games in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I honestly kind of forgot about that. I didn't really think of him making All-Star team. Yeah. So we got just you left for power forward, Alberta.
No, I got one.
Oh, Ray, too.
Yeah.
My power forward is Anthony Davis.
Yeah, that's what I put there too.
Oh, he's my center.
That's my center and Drew's center. So.
Well, see, the reason why I
Guys,
put him at
he's-
power forward is because he's such a bitch and he don't want to play center.
That's what I thought too. And he tells you over and over again, I can't play center. I can't play center.
Yeah.
So I figured when we were playing with actual centers, he definitely wouldn't be able to play center.
Yeah.
David West can guard the big physical people. It's not that big
There
a
you
deal.
go. Yeah.
Well, I don't have David West on my team.
Well, that's your problem. I'm just joking.
How
I'm
many's got
curious
him
who
at
got that.
center?
Huh?
Wade and I and Drew.
Okay.
Yeah.
Three, yeah.
3.
Anthony Davis's numbers in New Orleans are 23 points, 10 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, and 2 blocks, 51%, 31%, and 79%.
It's also another guy who was phenomenal on defense. He was, especially with them.
Yeah.
That was the big freak of nature defensively. He was all over the place. I'm pretty sure he finished top 3 in Defensive Player of the Year multiple times. Although he's never won it, which is kind of surprising because he had some dominant. Maybe his games played might have messed that up, but
Yeah, I would say games played is probably the big reason.
because he was, oh dear Lord, he was a monster. I mean, lots of people considered him a top 5 player in the NBA, but when he was getting traded to the Lakers, I mean, and he's still showing flashes of it at times, but I mean, he was. How many All NBAs did he get there?
Sorry, I just rolled down to look at the last thing you brought up in Defensive Player of the Year voting, so I scrolled away from it. I'm trying to find.
He's got 4 total.
I bet at least a few of them are first team All NBAs.
But I bet at least a couple of those All NBAs probably came in LA.
Oh, yeah, I mean, he's got 4 for his whole career, Ray, or just for New
Yeah,
Orleans?
4 altogether.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what exactly how many of those came where, I guess, but I would guess the majority of them came in New Orleans, at least 2 or
I'm
3.
not seeing any all Defensive Player of the Year votes.
You say defensive player of the year?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe he did. Maybe I was wrong.
He's got 4 all defense, but yeah, I don't
Yeah.
say nothing about defensive player of the year.
He's just one of those guys that kind of like Embiid. Every time he falls down, you think his season's over.
He's been on a little overboard lately.
Yeah.
Past couple of years, I feel like he's been on the ground more than usual. But I lost track of where it was.
He's another guy that may never make another All NBA team just because the game's played.
How many did he play last year?
56. He played 40 the year before that, 36 the year before that. Yeah.
Man just thinks if everybody's on restrictions, we could see a weird All NBA 1, 2, and 3 this year.
We could, yeah.
Yeah, you might be getting some guys that.
Quite a ways down the list,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to think about a good example off the top of my head, but I had to stop and think for a second. But some guys that are good, but maybe not great, probably maybe sneak into some third All NBA.
Here's my
action.
here's my thing. Let's say Embiid continues to do what he does and doesn't play 65 games, and let's say Jokic has a year where he's injured. We could get somebody else be first team All NBA center.
Yeah. You know how hilarious it would be for Drew if Rudy Gobert got it.
Oh, jeez. Drew would be very unhappy.
He'd have a field day with that one.
Who would it be?
Well, you could.
I think maybe probably Cat.
Oh, Cat.
Well,
yeah.
not now because Gobert's there now. But he did play center before that.
Mm-hmm.
What about Ayton? Has he ever got one?
I don't think he's been All NBA, but I'm not saying he couldn't be. I'm just saying like
I mean,
don't think
Gobert or Cat could probably both qualify for center. So you could probably put Cat at center. I bet he still plays center when Gobert's not on the floor.
Yeah.
And he played center before Gobert got there, so I bet he'd qualify for a center.
Miles Turner.
No.
Ray'd go nuts for that.
He's not,
Bam.
Well, technically,
Bam.
well, yeah, Bam might have already got one or two, like third team, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know that. I'm guessing, but I bet he's borderline at least. Well, technically, Sabonis plays center.
Yeah, that's true.
Even
Sabonis was third team this year.
Yeah, he's not really a center, but
He plays center for them though. They play with a bunch. They play with like three wings and him and a point guard.
it's not too far off from putting Draymond as a center. Like he's not. I don't know.
I think he's like 6'10", isn't he?
I don't know. Maybe
I think Draymond's like 6'6".
Draymond's a better post defender than Sabonis, probably.
Defender, definitely.
Yeah, I don't know. He's definitely a power forward in my eyes, but I get it because today's NBA is different, but I don't know. It's goofy. I still feel like we're forgetting another big center, but Bam is probably the guy that would probably benefit from that happening. Because Bam's offensive numbers have got to pull out the past couple of years, along with his great defense.
Who's the big man that we like Wade on New Orleans?
Oh, Valanciunas?
Yeah, Valanciunas.
Valet!
Yeah.
I don't know if he'll make an All-NBA team, but I do like Valanciunas.
You never know.
Yeah, he puts up decent numbers. I mean,
Steven Adams. He could slip in there, I bet.
God.
Adams is tough.
Yeah,
He's another guy that struggles to play whole seasons though.
That's true.
Well, he did so much dirty work for so many years. I think it's catching up to him.
Yeah, just wear out.
Yeah, he's not load managing.
Wemby.
He's getting hurt.
Wemby.
Yeah, there you
Yeah.
go.
I still feel like we're forgetting a really good center somewhere. I cannot think. Whenever I get put on the spot like this, I always forget.
I'm gonna say I think Sabonis and Bam would be first, second team probably.
I mean, it's perfectly possible. Yeah.
But I'm just saying like that. I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I think it was a good idea to put a games limit on because nobody's playing anything anymore. But it could really make some interesting things happen. Because LeBron doesn't play that many games anymore. KD doesn't play that many games anymore. Kawhi doesn't play that many games anymore. So what's it do to the wings?
Right.
Jared Allen would be a possibility.
Yeah.
He's an All-NBA defender and gets you like 12 to 15 points, 10, 12 boards. Let's think here. Again, Cat and Gobert. I mean, I don't think he should be an All-NBA guy, but I mean, Brook Lopez just had a really nice year.
He got Defensive Player of the Year buzz.
He did.
I think he came in second or third.
If Robert Williams actually played more than 2 weeks in a row,
Yeah.
he could. 2 years ago he got Defensive Player of the Year buzz. I don't know. There's some other options, I guess. But
Yeah. Well, I'm the only one without a center up there, so I'll just go ahead and say my center is Tyson Chandler.
Okay.
He averaged 10 points, 11 rebounds, an assist, a block and a half on 61% shooting. All he did was catch lobs from CP3 while he was there.
Yeah.
That's how he scored. He has awards. I'm not sure where they all came. He has an All-NBA. He has a Defensive Player of the Year, which I think he won in New York.
I think you're right. It was right after he left the Mavericks.
And
the first time.
He's 3-time All-Defense, and I don't know where those came either.
Who knows? Yeah.
One of them might have been in New Orleans. So, yeah, I knew I needed a defensive big guy to play next to Anthony Davis, so he could cut the line down a little bit. Um, and I thought about putting David West at center, and I was like, I don't know. And then I was like I said earlier, then I was like, wow, he didn't rebound that much. I was like, what is this? And I was like, so I ended up going with Chandler. I didn't feel wonderful about it, but that's what I did. I also looked at Okafor.
Oh, okay, yeah. That would have been a good one.
He had some nice double years, didn't he?
Yeah, I think his numbers, it was like 12 points, so he had like 2 points on Chandler, but I think he was only like 9 rebounds, so he gave up a couple rebounds to Chandler, so yeah. All right, well, that is our team, and we have one player that's guaranteed, or two. I guess Davis got 5 votes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Davis is in. We just don't know where yet.
Yeah, so Paul is in, and he's our point guard, and Davis is on the team. We just don't know where yet.
Okay.
Everybody else, we have 4 shooting guards, 3 small forwards, 2 power forwards, and 3 centers. So yeah,
Well,
we have some talking to do.
We also have a lot of guys mixed up in different positions.
We do. So before we move on to any arguments, did anybody want to go ahead and give anybody up that they, liked somebody else's argument or anything?
well, I don't mind moving Davis to power forward instead of center and flip flopping West. I mean, if that helps, we can do that. But
I mean, I don't care about that either way. Whichever way, because who else had him? You, me, and Ray for him at power forward and for having West and Davis.
You and I and Drew had him at center.
Oh, okay. I don't care which way we go, but I'll align whichever way. I don't care which one plays which.
Yeah.
They're both going to get matched up against, different.
So do we want to
guys.
move our 3 Davises to power forward and then move our 3 West to center? And then that would
help clean some stuff up. That would
fine.
Davis
Yeah,
would be our power forward then.
Yeah, that's
and
fine.
Davis would be the power forward. Then.
That works
Okay.
out.
Let's do that.
No, that's the opposite of what they said, but
What?
It's not that big a deal. As long as they're,
I mean, I put them together. That was a big concern, right?
yeah. All the votes are together. It's not a
Yeah.
big deal.
Yeah.
They can
We
both.
can flip flop the 2.
They can guard whoever the hell they
Yeah,
want. It's
whoever
not a
they
big
want.
deal. They're the big guys. Not a big deal. Anyway, are you stuck on Chandler, Alberta, or do you want to talk about it? Or
well, I'm not stuck on Chandler, but if Davis is going to be our center, obviously I'm not going to take Chandler over Davis. But I did pick Chandler over West.
what were Chandler's numbers again in New Orleans?
10 points, 11 rebounds.
Okay. So I guess what was your point of view on why Chandler over West? I guess we'll start there.
Well, I mean, mainly I was the rebounding was the biggest thing. There's 7 rebounds to 11 rebounds. I wasn't really like that hung up on the scoring. He does give up 5 points to David West, but it was like, with Mashburn and Davis and Paul, I wasn't overly worried about having another big scorer. And then, having another shot blocker. I was like, no, big guys that don't block shots bother me. I think I've said that in other episodes. So yeah, that's where I was at with it.
I feel you. I don't know. With West, I think you still get good physical defense, which Chandler is probably a better defender and shot blocker. I'll give you that one. But Chandler got to start his career in Chicago and get those shit years out of the way and then go somewhere else. And if you take away, like we said earlier, West's first couple of years, you're getting a little more rebounding, you're getting more scoring. He's doing it efficiently. You're still getting good defense. I just thought the overall production was just more with West. That was my thought process.
Agreed.
But, We're talking about David West and Tyson Chandler. Right?
That is true.
That
I
big a
mean,
deal.
in the whole grand scheme of things, they're going to lose their matchup.
Yeah.
So
I don't think it's a real deal breaker. I don't
Yeah.
think Kareem or Wilt's going to struggle with either one.
Yeah,
No.
you're
So,
right.
or Shaq or whatever they.
all right, I'll go to West.
All right.
So David West is our starting center. Oh crap! All right, well now we need to go to
Shooting guard is
shooting guard or small forward.
Well, it doesn't help that we have Mashburn and Ingram on two different positions. That really mixes things up.
Who all had? So everybody but me had Mashburn at small forward, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so. Yeah, Alex had Mashburn, Uncle Doug,
Drew.
and Drew.
And then me and Wade's got Ingram in two different spots, right?
Yeah, I have Ingram at shooting guard, and I have Zion at small forward.
Hmm.
So what are you thinking, Ray?
I'm just thinking about putting my picks to the majority locations. Like put my Mashburn at small forward and put Ingram at shooting guard.
That makes sense. I mean, it would clear up
Yeah,
at least something for us.
let's do that.
That gets us 4 Mashburns at small forward.
Okay, mouse.
So if we can talk Wade into coming off Zion,
Mm-hmm.
coming to our Mashburn side. Tell you what,
Yeah.
Wade,
What's up?
I'll come off Holiday to Ingram
Okay,
if you'll come off Zion to Mashburn.
I'll do it. I'll do it.
And you can move Drew's vote too.
Yeah, I
on
mean,
Ingram.
essentially at this point, Drew's vote doesn't count.
Right. So
Yeah,
So we're taking.
I'm cool with Mashburn.
So Zion's done.
Yeah.
Mashburn's in.
Mashburn's in,
Mashburn's in.
and then we got another vote for Ingram at shooting guard.
And I'm taking
And-
one off Holiday.
Correct. Yes,
Okay.
we got it.
And Drew's doesn't really. I mean, he's not here, so
And he had Holiday as well.
yeah,
Okay.
he did.
That's 4. All right. This turned in pretty easy. All right.
So we just got Davis and Ingram. Huh?
And I really like Baron Davis, but I don't.
Yeah, I always like Barron.
Yeah,
I
I
I
was
have
like
nothing against him. I actually liked some of the teams he popped in on. I like those Hornets days. Now that old Warriors team he played on was really neat with
The
him.
We
and-
Believe.
yeah.
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 I mean, you beat like a 67 win Mavericks team, and it's a pretty big deal. People still talk about it today.
Yeah, and he also has that crazy cool dunk on Karolinko.
Mhm. He had a few nasty dunks. He could get up.
Yeah,
he could yak. For being a shorter guy, he was
And he was
extremely.
stocky.
Yeah, he was.
Mhm.
He was very explosive. I think that's the right word to describe him. Very explosive and powerful. But yeah.
I'm all right coming off Davis to Ingram. That's, I mean,
The things that really pushed me back on Davis and Mashburn originally is I did not like their inefficiency.
yeah.
That bugged me quite a bit. But if I get Ingram, I can live with Mashburn.
So our New Orleans all-time starting 5, and I will say it's kind of sad looking, is Chris Paul. What is Ingram's first name?
Brandon.
Brandon, there you go. Brandon
Come on
Ingram,
over.
Jamal Mashburn, Anthony Davis, and David West. So we have,
So
yeah.
That's an interesting team.
so
Well, and when I was looking through teams, looking through all this, everybody had Paul and Davis.
Yeah.
And then it was just a whole wealth of other people. Like we did. We had a wealth of other people.
well, it's such a short, complicated time frame of talent, and it's not like they've been in that time frame like winning titles or anything. They barely made the playoffs half the time. Like they just haven't. They need more time to get more good players in their franchise.
And it's, okay, so let's talk about like we did last episode. We've pretty much come to unanimously think that Charlotte is our worst team. So does this team beat Charlotte?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Let's see.
So you're looking at Chris Paul matching up with Kimba.
Yeah.
Chris Paul's better.
Yeah, and then you're at shooting guard, you're looking at Eddie Jones and Brandon Ingram.
I'd say a wash.
Yeah, that's kind of.
And you're looking at what?
Glenn Rice and
Glenn
Mashburn.
Rice, yeah.
Glenn Rice and Mashburn, which I say is probably a wash again.
Yeah.
I would lean a little bit towards Rice by a small margin, just due to the extremely good, efficient 3-point shooting.
You're looking at Anthony Davis and Big Mama,
I would go Davis by a little bit.
Grandmama.
Grandma, yeah.
I think Davis could do more overall on the floor.
And then you're looking at David West and Alonzo Mourning.
I'm going Morning, obviously.
Got him, yeah.
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 Charlotte might. I don't know. I think Morning wins center. In my opinion, I would, by a very, very small margin, take Rice over Mashburn. And I would take Paul over Kimbo. So that's 3 of the 5 positions anyway. I think Davis does more on the floor than Johnson. I think he's a much better overall defender, a little bit more versatile scorer. But I mean, it's not like Grandmama was a joke or anything. I mean, he had a few years in there where he was a pretty dominant player. But
I almost feel like Grandmama would kind of bully Davis around.
I mean, he would definitely bully him.
But
whether he would.
Davis also has 6 inches on him and longer arms.
Yeah.
So I mean, he could push Davis backwards, and Davis could still block a shot.
I mean, that's when he's filling up to it. I mean, Davis is there half the time. Oh, good game.
I mean,
bad game.
I just went and pulled it up just so we could look. Grandmama's Charlotte numbers are 19 and 9, 4 assists, 49%.
All right. Grandmama played 700 games. We can't make fun of Anthony Davis.
Yeah, his career was ended by an injury.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah. And as much crap as we give Anthony Davis, Tim Duncan and KG and Dirk Nowitzki all didn't like playing center either. So, and I don't think it's quite as big a deal as we make it out to be sometimes.
But we're talking about today's NBA where there are no centers.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to play center now when I have to match up against a center like twice, 3 times the whole season. I got to play Embiid and I got to play Joker. Yeah, no, it's really close. What about Memphis? What about Memphis in this team?
I gotta think who we put on Memphis. We had the Gasols,
Morant. Who did we have at the wings?
Good Lord, I cannot.
The Souls. Then we had Sharif Abdul-Rahim.
Oh yeah.
And then John Mike Conley.
No, we was both point guards.
Put
Yeah.
both point guards on.
For all-time teams, those are 2 clunkers. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
I say this one probably beats Memphis.
I'm trying to break this down in my head. I don't know.
Well, you figure because West and Mark Gasol are going to probably play against each other.
I think I give
Powell and Anthony.
I think I give Davis over Powell, but I give Mark over David West.
Yeah.
I think Abdul-Rahim and Mashburn, that'd be a matchup because they both they're different. I think Abdul-Rahim would definitely punish Mashburn physically, but Mashburn might just blow by him.
Kind of Mashburn shoot a little bit.
Yeah, he shoot a little bit. Yeah. Ingram would definitely physically punish Mike Conley.
Well, this is what I'm struggling with. Ingram is obviously physically superior to Mike Conley, but they don't play at all the same. Conley's going to help run your offense and facilitate some and spot up and be a knockdown 3-point shooter and be able to penetrate every once in a while. Ingram's a much better overall scorer, but you're not going to get the facilitation. And even though the size difference is much different against other teams where the shooting guard isn't like 6'9", Conley is a very good defender.
He is.
While Ingram is...
I think you put Conley defensively would probably be put on Paul.
Yeah.
Right, and probably John Ingram.
But Ja don't guard nobody.
No. Ingram's going to have the size mismatch in a lot of situations like that. That's one of the reasons why he's so good is he's so tall and long. It's hard to get
really long arms.
It's hard to get to his shot. I mean, he's one of the better offensive players in the entire NBA. I mean, I don't know. They just do 2 different things. So that matchup really gets to me. I don't know. And then, but at the same time, can anyone stay in front of Morant? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think you probably put Ingram on him and back off and hope his size helps. And then you have
You'd have to really just stop him in transition. That would be the big one. You'd have to shut down their transition game.
And you'd have to tell Anthony Davis, you got to go up and challenge these. You can't let him get buckets to the rim.
Well, here's what sways me towards the New Orleans team. Is I think the two best players on the court will be Paul and Anthony Davis. I think both of them will go down. Paul's already an all-time great.
Yeah.
If Anthony Davis can pile on to some of his career totals, he's probably going to go down as an all-time great power forward, while Morant has the ability to maybe one day be that, and then no one else on that roster is close to an all-time great. Pat will be a borderline Hall of Famer. I don't know if Mark will ever get in. Sharif Abdul-Rahim's never going to get in.
No.
Um,
Conley's not going to be a Hall of
yeah,
Famer.
Conley's known as a good NBA player that just got his first All-Star appearance like 2 years ago at like age 33 or something. I mean, while Paul is an all-time great and Davis is an all-time great, I feel like that star power might be able to push them over the hump.
Yeah. So we're talking about this team is either the second or third worst team we've made.
They're going to lose in the first round
Yeah, probably.
of our tournament.
What about the T-Wolves? Let's go talk, because we said the T-Wolves was the third worst team last week. So what does the matchup look like with the T-Wolves?
Well, you got Chris Paul and Sam Cassell.
I mean, Chris Paul wins that matchup.
And then Anthony Edwards and Brandon Ingram.
That would be a battle.
Yeah, two guys that are playing right now.
Yeah.
One has like the size and length, and one has the athleticism and power, and that would be a battle.
Mashburn and KG.
Yeah,
I think
KG's
we know where
gonna
that
annihilate
goes.
him.
Yeah. Anthony Davis and Kevin Love. Very different players.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think they both. I mean, Davis obviously is a far superior defender.
I think that's the separator.
Kevin Love is obviously the superior shooter, but probably I don't know. They both rebound pretty well. Kevin Love in Minnesota though is almost in a league of his own rebound wise.
Yeah, he was really good.
And then at center you're looking at Cat and David West. I think you give the nod to Cat, but
Yeah.
it's
I mean, averaging 25 and 12 is no joke.
it
I'm
is.
not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I know he gets made fun of a lot, and he has some shortcomings in some areas, but it's still hard to do.
Yeah.
Averaging 25 and 12 or 25 and 10 or whatever, and he's done it for what, half a decade now.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, offensively, he is. I mean, he's made some 13 All NBAs, hasn't he, Cat?
Yeah, probably. Let me look.
I think he's snuck in on at least one, maybe.
He's got 2 All NBAs.
2 All NBAs. So I mean,
Yeah, and his numbers overall are 23 and 11.
yeah.
He's got a 24 and 12, a 26 and 10, a 24 and 10.
And he's not a great defender. I'm not trying to make that argument, but if he plays a traditional post player, which in a lot of these matchups that'll happen, he is big enough to at least throw his body around and bang and make it. He's not. It won't be complete nothing, even though he's not a great defender.
Physically and athletically, he has the potential to be a good defender. That's what I think is
Yeah.
so frustrating with Cat.
Right,
Is he
yeah.
has the body
Because
for
he-
it.
Well, and he did it in college.
Yes.
Like we were talking about earlier. He did it, so he can do it.
I think a large part of his problem in today's NBA is today's NBA. Just like what Drew's always saying about Gobert. In the playoffs, they just bring him out. They just bring him out. They just spread it out. You spread him out. He can't just sit in the paint and waiting for you, and he gets abused. I don't think Cat has the foot speed to shuffle when he gets in a mismatch or with a team that plays small. I don't think he can shuffle with them. Like, he doesn't have the foot speed to keep up with a lot of people. And in today's NBA, no matter who you are, you're going to get stuck out in the perimeter on a decent amount.
I agree with you. That's why I think it was so dumb to bring Gobert in, because then you put 2 of them on the floor at the same time.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's really, I feel like getting Gobert, I feel like they were actually building something positive before they got him. Cat's a great offensive player.
He is.
He is a great offensive player. And Edwards is on his way. He's on his way to being really, really good.
I think honestly, you have to get through to Cat that it's Ant's team.
Yeah. Well, I think
yeah.
in this, we were talking earlier about people making All NBA teams. He's a guy that I think could really make one next year at the guard position. If he's, for the most part, I think he stayed fairly healthy, hasn't he? I don't know off the top of my head, but I never remember hearing a ton about him being hurt. But and he's been getting better, and he can dial it in on defense at times, and he's tremendous on offense. You know, he's a little streaky, but that comes with being that young.
In his 3 seasons, he's played 72 games, 79 games. So, yes,
yeah.
he's been
Yeah,
pretty
that's
healthy.
pretty good. I'll take that.
And what was his numbers last year?
24 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, and a steal
I think
on
that's
46%, 37%, 75%.
I think that's pretty easily a guy that can make a third All-NBA team, especially if he keeps getting better.
Right.
Especially if other guys don't play enough games.
Yeah,
I think we
that too.
know that's going to happen to
Yeah.
a lot of guys. Yeah. So I think it's a real possibility. But when they got Gobert, I think what you said is right, and it also just messed up them ascending. It kind of threw off the team chemistry. It threw off how they played offense and defense, and it just kind of fucked everything up.
It did.
Yeah, it
Also
did.
because Ant's best quality is getting to the basket.
Yeah.
And now Gobert is down there clogging things up.
Right, he's in the way.
And one of the things, Cat is a great shooter for a big guy.
Yeah.
But what made him really unstoppable at times was the fact that he could get out there and kill you from three-point land, and then when he got a mismatch, he would abuse you down low. But
Mhm.
now the big goofy guy from France is down there, so that takes away some of his mismatching and beating people up down low as well.
Well, essentially now, Cat has a mismatch almost every possession because they're guarding him with smaller guys because the big guy's on Gobert. But since Gobert never leaves the paint, if he goes down there to post up the small guy, they just rotate the big
Right.
over.
Yeah.
And he's a double team, and you give it to Gobert, he bobbles the ball and throws it off his foot, and then you're back to square one.
Yeah, it was just overall, for many different reasons, just a bad move. The Timberwolves got excited that they were making real improvements and made the playoffs, and they had some really, really good young talent, and they wanted to make a big splash to keep improving their team. They just chose the wrong superstar.
Right.
They might have chose the wrong Utah Jazz player. If they went out and got Mitchell, and you have Mitchell, Cat, and Edwards, that would have been a nasty ass lineup.
Or even if they would have just traded for Conley, a older veteran presence that
Right.
runs the show and sets them up,
Yeah.
and get Cat and Ant the ball in good situations. That might have
Right.
been the better pickup over Gobert.
Yeah. You know, sometimes it's not about the big splashy. It's about the fit.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think that's the problem with all of the NBA. Well, not all of the NBA, a large amount of the NBA. Who made the finals this year? 2 teams that have been together and have continuity and team chemistry.
And have good role players.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not teams full of superstars.
Right.
That's what that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. That's what the Suns aren't getting right now.
Yes.
You don't have to always go. I think I might have said this before. I don't remember, but you don't always have to go for the home run. If they just would have filled out their roster with role players that knew their role and played their role, and that complemented their superstars, that would have been much better than bringing in a borderline all-star guy in Bradley Beal and just try to win on talent. Because now you're lacking in perimeter defense. You're going to be lacking probably in the health department.
Depth.
They're going to have to sign like 8 veteran minimums just to fill out their roster. Again, they just said, oh, talent, and this new owner they have is going nuts with all these trades. And there's a thing to fitting as a team. It's a real thing. And people seem to have forgotten that the past handful of years with all these teams and jumping around and forming all these super teams, and continuity and chemistry and fitting together and playing off each other is how you win basketball games. And
Yeah, people should have learned from the Nets.
yeah, well, I mean, it's been going on for, a long time with many teams. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. All right, well, we can move off of this talk and actually move into some NBA talk real quick. We probably don't need to talk too long. We've already gone quite a long ways here for this episode. But as far as NBA news goes, I don't have a whole lot. I saw Vucevic agreed to return to the Bulls on a 3-year, $60 million deal. Naz Reid agreed to return to the Timberwolves, so
big
now
guy
they
for
have
the
3
Timberwolves.
centers.
He's good, too.
I like Naz Reid.
He's not
yeah.
a bad guy. He probably could start at center for a handful of teams. Or
I was interested in Orlando signing him, to be honest with you.
I don't like the Vooch signing because the Bulls need to restart. The Bulls need to reshuffle here.
Yeah, but while you still have DeRozan and Levine, you might as well try and make the playoffs, I guess.
But DeRozan's gone after this year, I think, and Levine's been in trade talks for a couple years now.
Well, they don't seem to be getting much in the way of offers for Levine. I mean,
Yeah.
seems like he's a pretty decent player. I would have thought somebody would have been jumping.
Seems like it's kind of a head case.
Yeah, that's what I think he was a giant headache for the Bulls last year. There were many things where there were a bunch of reports. It wasn't like he pretty much was jealous of DeRozan. They were giving the ball to DeRozan at the end of games, which they should because he's terrific in those situations.
Right.
And he's very good at creating his own shot. And he was pouting, and he said some stuff in the media, and he was kind of an issue last year.
Well, then, like, he would do stupid things. Like, they were down by 3 with 10 seconds left. They threw the ball into Levine. He dribbled the timeout and then dribbled to the free throw line and shot a 2.
Yeah.
And it was like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Well, with DeRozan, Levine, and Vooch, they can't even make the playoffs. And and DeRozan is like, what, 34, 33, 34 years old?
He's getting up there, yeah.
He's getting up.
Levine is much younger, but he's had lots of knee trouble. And Vooch, I think is a good quality center.
Yeah.
One, in today's NBA, he doesn't always fit well. And when you have lack of 3-point shooting, and you have a traditional center, it just in today's NBA it doesn't seem to go well. I just think they needed to and it's very unfortunate what's happening to Alonzo Ball. It sounds like his career.
Yeah, that's a big blow to them. Now they just announced the other day he's not going to play again this year. They said they're not expecting him to play all year.
Well, with him being out, I mean, that half a season he played, they were one of the top teams in the East a couple
I think
years
they were
ago.
like the 3 seed, yeah.
Yeah, they were doing good.
He got hurt, and then they fell down to like the 6th or 7th seed. And last year they lost in the play-in. And I think it's a thing where they just don't quite fit as a team because Lonzo was the facilitator. He was the best perimeter defender, him and Caruso, and he developed into a pretty good 3-point shooter and spread the floor for DeRozan and Levine and Vucevic. And without that, it's just not working, I don't think.
Well, the other thing is they're playing too many non-shooters.
Yeah.
The Patrick Williams has not turned out to be the guy they thought he was. He's a non-shooter at the 4. DeRozan obviously is a non-shooter, even though he's really good. He's a non-shooter.
He's a mid-range machine,
yeah,
but he's not a 3-point shooter.
Right, and then they're playing guys like what's the white guy? Caruso.
AC Fresh.
He's okay.
Yeah, Caruso and Kobe White at point guard because the ball's out, and those guys aren't great shooters. So essentially, Levine and Vucevic are the only 2 guys on the team that shoot threes, and you're just like, okay.
Well, now you know who wants to come to the Bulls, don't you?
Who's
God,
Mo Bamba.
Obama can go wherever he wants. Doesn't matter.
He can sit on the bench for wherever he wants. Man.
Yeah, he expressed interest the other day that he wants the Lakers to ship him to the Bulls.
And
yeah, do it.
So,
I tried to tell you guys.
I know.
has there been a definitive yes or no on what Dame's doing?
No.
Because I'm already pretty annoyed with all the Dame
I said
talk.
the same thing last week.
Exactly what Alex said.
Just say what you're doing. Just if you want out, say you want out. If you want to try it, again, to say you want to try it again.
They had a big meeting. I don't know if it was today or yesterday, and now he's given them time to free agency. He said, "Go ahead and start free agency and look and see what you can do." He's still not requesting a trade or requesting to stay.
But the team wants to know whether he's going to request a trade before they spend money in free agency.
Right.
Yeah, because there'd be no reason for them. Because if they send him off, they're in complete rebuild mode. All their best players are a bunch of good young guys.
Right.
Anthony Simons is like 23, 24. That Sharp kid's like 20. They just drafted Scoot. Yeah.
Yeah.
There'd be no reason to go spend money on veterans. No reason at all.
So,
He just needs to leave.
They sit down and talk, but they're not. I don't think they're each talking the right things.
I think he's proved his point, and I respect his loyalty. He's been very loyal, and
absolutely.
in an era of basketball where no one's loyal, he's been the most loyal superstar we've probably had in a while, probably since the likes of Kobe and Duncan and stuff. But if you really want to win, and that's what he said he wants to do at this last part of his prime, I don't think anyone's going to shit on him.
No.
Just and he's going about it the right way. He's
Yep.
not going out in social media or going out in the media and saying a bunch of ridiculous, stupid stuff. He's not refusing to play. He's not,
Well, and he's not just saying, I'm only going to go to one team where he hamstrings
yeah.
the Trailblazers, you know.
It would be
Now,
a
I'm sure in
mutual.
closed doors,
Yeah.
he's probably saying, I want to go here or here, but he's not doing it publicly to where he really screws them over.
I mean, everyone's been talking about him going to the Heat all off season. There's been people throwing out the 76ers. There's even been some Nets stuff. They think if he goes to the Nets with all of their good role players in place, that they would be better than the Trailblazers, and especially if Bridges continues to ascend into being an all-star caliber talent. You'd have Bridges and him and Claxton and a couple more of those really good wings that they still have, and it would probably, and they have some other good bench pieces. It would actually be a quality team. I don't think he's going to win a title there,
No.
but it would be a quality team. But outside of the Sixers and Heat, where else could he go?
Well, last week we talked about the Bucks.
Yeah.
Do the Bucks have anybody that the Trailblazers want?
Well, that was what we kind of talked about.
Yeah,
was whether
I
they
said-
had a pretty way of making the package
Yeah,
to do it.
because like the Sixers can throw you like Tobias Harris and Maxey. Maxey's the big one, and Tobias Harris, or there's always different combinations, and I can't remember whoever has draft picks. That's the big thing. Because all these trades usually include a ton of draft picks.
Oh yeah,
So
they
that's
throw around second rounders like nothing.
I think the
5 second rounders,
if you
6
get-
second rounders.
if you get like Maxey and another role player and a bunch of draft picks, I mean, I think Maxey's really good.
Maxey's
Yeah.
solid, but at the same time, that gives you a fourth point
And
guard.
he's really, really young.
Like you're looking at Maxey, Scoot, Anthony Simons. Those are all point. I guess 3. That's all. They're all point guards.
Well, some of the stuff I've been hearing that if they do get another guard back, Simmons is out.
yeah, probably.
And
He's
then-
the oldest one of the bunch, anyway.
And he's I can't remember what it was. He's like the least. He's a good player, but like physically, he's very small. He's not overly powerful and big. Like I think he's not like tiny, but he's a smaller guard for NBA standards. While Scoot's not very tall, but Scoot's already built and super
Yeah.
powerful and athletic, and plays really strong, and would probably be a better defender. Sharp is, I think, a little bit bigger than all of them. A little taller and
Sharp's a
longer.
wing. Yeah.
Yeah. Who's the other point guard? Did I say Simon, Scoot, and you said there's a third one?
Well, it would have been Maxey.
Oh, I kind of thought Maxey's a shooting guard, to be honest. But either way, yeah, but they would have an additional really good young wing to throw in their rotation, and I don't know if I don't know if it would be Tobias Harris and Maxey together. I don't know if that could work, or maybe the Blazers would throw someone else in there with them or something, or
All
I don't-
depends on the salaries.
yeah, and the draft picks, and
They got to balance all that out.
the Heat would would the biggest piece be Tyler Hero?
Probably.
Yeah, it'd have to
I
be
think
built
it'd
around
have to
Tyler
be
Hero. It's the
Hero.
only thing anybody wants.
If you're trading a true NBA superstar, well, I mean, you'd have to get a ton of draft picks from the Heat. Because Tyler Hero's a good offensive player, but is Tyler Hero
But he's
someone?
not Dame.
Yeah. Like, I feel like you're just not. I feel like Maxey and Tobias Harris, or Maxey and another decent role player. I don't know. I feel like I feel like people view Maxey in a little brighter light than Hero, but I don't know. They're both good offensive players and young, so they're probably similar, I guess. But
I don't really see a home run trade out there.
yeah,
There's no slam dunk, obvious.
that's probably part of
that
some of the problem.
fits for everybody.
Is if you're going to trade this superstar, you want superstar stuff back, or
Right.
not necessarily a superstar, but you want a lot back, a lot.
Right. You want a couple of good
You know.
young players, a couple of draft picks.
You're going to use that to help rebuild your franchise.
Right.
And it just depends on. But with him wanting to win a championship at the end of his career, it's got to be a team that's already really, really good, with the right amount of draft picks, with the salaries being able to match up, with the players that they want coming back, and there's just not a lot of that around.
No, there's not.
Some people threw out the Celtics earlier in the offseason, which
Jaylen Brown.
which is not going to happen, but that would have been interesting. to say the least. But well, now they've got themselves quite a little interesting squad now. They're going to have themselves a big three with Porzingis and good old Jaylen Brown and Tatum and a plethora of other really good role players.
Well, I mean, really, what they did is they gave themselves somebody to blame that's not Tatum or Brown when they lose in the playoffs.
Right.
Porzingis will take the heat.
That's right. He's the scapegoat now.
Even though they've been really good and can't get over the hump for half a decade now.
Yeah.
Their roster the past 2 years is it's probably the most complete roster in the entire NBA as far as how deep they are, how well they mesh together, how many two-way players you got, how healthy your stars are. And there's no other franchise that can touch them, I don't think. I mean, they have 8 or 9 really, really good NBA players that play on their team. And it's such a shame they haven't been able to get over the hump, I guess.
Brogdon, White, Smart, Brown, Tatum, Horford, Time Lord. Like, there's 7 guys right there.
Grant Williams.
Yeah.
Porzingis now.
Yeah.
We're up to 9 already. Pritchard.
Pritchard pretty much got buried on the bench this year, and I think there's teams in the league he could start for.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We just named off 10 guys right there.
Yeah.
And the shittiest one we named off, we think could be a really good role player for other team.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like I don't know. I don't know. I don't understand how they can't get it together, I guess. Because they're obviously really good, but there's just, after a while, as crazy and ridiculous as the media is nowadays, and how much all these players get shit on repeatedly. If they don't win the championship every year, this person's a loser, and this person, well, they left this team to go to this team and they lost this year. And so, they're, it's just over and over the same old crap. But for a team that's got superstars and they're that stacked and they're the Celtics and they keep coming up short for like a half a decade, no one really makes fun of them. No one talks shit about him. People's made fun of Jaylen Brown's dribbling this year, a little bit last year. That's about the extent of it. I don't know. I don't get it.
I've been hearing a lot of rumors of Sacramento being interested in Kuzma to try and come play the third fiddle for them.
Replace Harrison Barnes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think if Kuzma buys into being the third guy, not the 1 or the 2,
Right.
I think he'd be a nice pickup, but you got to get that buy-in. Kuzma seems like another guy that's kind of a head case.
He can be.
Well, yeah, when he comes to the arena and in a fucking trash bag.
I mean,
No
you
problem.
think, Fox and Herter and Kuzma and Sabonis and that Murray kid,
Yeah.
plus what's his name, that really good 6-man they have, Monk.
Monk, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's a pretty nasty top 6. That's
Yeah.
pretty nasty, especially if Murray keeps developing. They'll be nasty for a while, and they're young for the most part,
Yeah.
or like in their primes at least, with some of their big players. They could be a real problem in the West for a long time.
All right, well, does anybody else have anything they want to talk about before we get off here?
No.
I'm good.
All right. Well, we appreciate you tuning in for this New Orleans episode, and we would appreciate you tuning in next week for New York, where we'll actually get multiple Hall of Famers for the first time in a couple weeks.
That should be a cool episode.
I agree, though. To be honest with you, I believe that my entire starting 5 is in the Hall of Fame for New York. So,
John Starks, baby. John Starks.
yeah, he didn't quite make it, but yeah, it'll be an interesting week next week. I just want to remind everybody, please email in, comment, subscribe, rate, review, all those good things. We really appreciate it. We still want to hear from France. We'd really like to get an email from France. You've been such a loyal listener. Why not tell us, how you found us, what you've been doing, with our episodes and so on. That'd be great.
Yeah.
So, and thanks for tuning in to Sports the NEMO Way.